Hello and welcome to the 38th edition of the Local Lowdown podcast. My name is Zach Bischoff, and I, as always, am joined by.
Danny Shannon, sir.
All right, Danny, thank you very much. How are you doing on this tremendous Friday afternoon?
I am doing really well, Zach. How are you, man?
I am doing fantastic. All right, Danny, today we're going to be talking about and previewing the 2024 edition of the Backyard Brawl between the West Virginia Mountaineers and the Pittsburgh Panthers. Give me your thoughts on the upcoming game here, and at the end, give me your predictions.
Yes, sir. Um, I am very excited, Zach. As you can see, I don't know if any of our viewers can see, and if you're listening on the audio, I'm just showing my Pitt shirt. I thought that was an appropriate um, Friday shirt to wear because we're feeling good, coasting the weekend with the um, Backyard Brawl, the 107th all time Backyard Brawl between Pitt and West Virginia. And I mean, I am really, really excited about this game, Zach. I mean, it is just a game where I really could see it going either way. And I mean, obviously, I think that a lot of people think it's going to be competitive, and that's why it's such a intriguing game. Not to mention that we're just in close proximity with one another. Just WVU being in Morgantown and Pitt being in the city of Pittsburgh. But as far as what I'm expecting from the game here, I would say I am expecting Pitt to have an explosive offensive performance. Um, I think that I personally would love for Pitt to start how they started against Kent State, and try and score, in the realm of 40 points and not wait until the second half to turn it on because we were down 27-6 and came back to win 28-27 against Cincinnati. So I would love for us to get out of the gate stronger. And I mean we got some dynamic players that we can get into a little later here, but I mean I am just really excited to see what Pitt can do. And as far as the defensive side of the ball, and kind of where West Virginia factors in that equation was I think West Virginia's got some dynamic players. Garrett Green, their quarterback, I think that Pitt can do a good job containing him as long as we can kind of get to him early and rattle him. I remember just him, in the past, just kind of forcing some balls. So that's going to be the defense. I feel like it's just to kind of to get home on them and see if we can get him sped up because I mean I think that'll be the key. But I mean, and Zach, we got to be solid in terms of guarding the big play too. I mean, I look for Donovan McMillan. He's a guy that I'm really looking forward to seeing in this game. I think if we can just speed W up and limit the explosive plays, I think we'll be in a good spot. So with all that being said, I think that the final score of this game will be, I'm going to say, 35 to 28.
Oh, yeah, Danny. I have not watched a second of Pitt football yet this season, but I do think Pitt will avenge their 17-6 loss, I believe it was,
Yeah.
in last year's edition of the Backyard Brawl with Phil Dracovic last
Yeah.
year, apparently sucking a fat one. Well, I'm not sure if I can say that on YouTube. Um, but but yeah, I think that Pitt is going to win by a score of 28 to 27-20. 27-20.
All
I
right.
think
All
Pitt
right,
will
Zach.
win. Um, Danny, what do you think the effect will be, if any, on the with the loss of who did they lose? Rodney Hammond Jr.
Yeah,
to
that's a great point, Zach.
ineligibility. What was it? I still didn't get the
Yeah,
full
he
on it.
was ruled ineligible, for the season. Which I mean, that's just that I really you really feel for him. I don't know really the if there was any other reasoning behind that, be it team conduct or anything. But I just always feel for a player when um you go you're doing all this hard work in preseason and then the week before the season starts you're ruled ineligible for the year. So I think that uh, will be will continue to be a big loss, especially you know, when we get into ACC play. When I feel like ACC play is really when it's truly tested. I feel like Zach, because you're playing the likes of we got a game against Syracuse on Thursday, and then we play North Carolina, and those games are intense because they're conference games, but they're also intense because you're playing another. You're not going out and playing Wofford like we did last year, which
Yeah.
was one of our 3 wins. And I give you know Pat Narduzzi and company credit for making it kind of a tough non-conference schedule. Like um, we played Cincinnati um, last week, which I think was a good test. But we also, I mean, we Kent State isn't exactly a world beater in football, and neither is
Yeah.
Youngstown State next weekend. But we do have a bye week before we get into ACC play against North Carolina, which I like. But I think that I mean it is going to be a factor because how can you can never have enough depth, right, Zach? Um, but I think Desmond Reed, our guy, I think he transferred from West Carolina, has just been an absolute tank. Like he gives me a lot of he reminds me a lot of Izzy Abanikanda, just with his ability to um, be patient and then hit the hole. I
Mhm.
think that's a universal characteristic of what effective running backs are. But he's been tremendous. So I think Hammond will be a factor. But I've been really impressed with the way that new offensive coordinator Cade Bell has handled this offense so far.
All right, Danny. So that does it for the scripted, for the script for the stuff we had planned for the show. So let's talk about uh Thursday Night Football last night. Tua Tagovailoa suffered his fourth concussion, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And also, Dan, do you think that he will be forced to um, medically retire from the NFL? I think he will.
Oh
After
man.
four concussions, and also he did have, you noticed
Yeah, two
after
last year.
he had, yeah, was it two last year? I think it
Or
was.
either two in one year. Let me see.
Yeah.
I was just
He,
reading.
I noticed when he went down, as soon as I saw the head, I'm like, oh god, that's a concussion. He had the fencing reaction again.
Yeah, I did.
Um,
I saw that too.
So then, I mean, how many more of these can you take before it turns into something like a traumatic brain injury or a neck injury, something like that? Because he got hit right in the
Right,
neck um, by, I believe it was Damar Hamlin. Not intentional, of course, but that's how the
right,
tackle ended up. Um, yeah, I just think that Tua, can't really is going to be, I think, forced to medically retire for just for the sake of his own life at this point. I mean, it becomes an issue of your well being further down the road.
right. And I think that, like you said, I mean, I was reading an article in the Athletic, and the closing quote by Mike McDaniel was I'm telling Tua right now that like his primary responsibility is to be a dad this weekend. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think, like you said, Zach, like that it comes in when you look at it through that lens, it's like man, like obviously you hate that in terms for a football player, and for the Dolphins that puts him in a tough spot, but also just in terms of like you said, Zach, like his physical um, well being, like you gotta have some serious conversations regarding that. Now he's the ultimate competitor, so I mean I think he's gonna want to really get a good detailed prognosis of everything. But I do tend to agree with you, Zach, that if he doesn't medically retire, I think he'll probably not be like it's just going to be kind of that when Alex Smith had that tragic injury and he was
Mm.
out for I think 2 years. I could see it being something like that.
He had, I
But
think he had like
that's also so
sepsis or
tough
something.
mentally though, Zach.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Alex Smith, I think he had like sepsis or something.
that
Um,
was kind of
he
wild.
he
Yeah,
was out. Yeah, like I said, for like 2 years. I mean, it almost killed him.
right.
And I think at one point they thought he was going to die. Um,
And that's I mean that's where it's just again like obviously I think Tua is just going to have to have a really hard and honest conversation that some things are bigger than football. So obviously,
yeah,
I mean, we'll just be thinking of him and just wishing him the best in recovery. But I mean, the other and we can the other I just the other thing is you look at what this does to the Dolphins as an organization. And I mean, these past 2 weeks for the Dolphins, Zach, have been so rough. You
yeah,
know, obviously, they won against Jacksonville, but they were down against Jacksonville going into halftime, and not to mention that whole incident with Tyreek Hill. With so that was not exactly what everybody needed in terms of in Miami. And now, I mean, they had high hopes, to beat the Bills, and they cannot seem to really catch it. I mean, catch a break. I don't know if that's the right word. I mean, I'll use that because obviously, again, safety's more important, and we're just thinking of Tua here. But like, that Tua was their guy, and now he's going to be out for at least a week, depending on how serious this is. And like you said, Zach, maybe more. So,
yeah,
I mean, I mean, and I don't know. I just felt like they've really, um, I mean, even before Tua went down, they just seemed like Buffalo kind of really was able to impose their will on them a little bit more.
yeah,
James Cook was tremendous with 3 touchdowns. So Miami's in a real tough spot.
yeah. Before Tua went down, his line finished 17 of 25 for 145 with a touchdown and 3 picks.
Yeah,
Josh Allen finished 13 for 19 for 139 and a touchdown. That kind of hurts me because I had him as a quarterback in fantasy. Um, James Cook, as Danny mentioned, 78 yards with 2 touchdowns. And Danny, I just want to talk for a minute about the Miami halfback room, um, with the bell cow being Devon A. Chain. He just talk about how talented he is. He looked really good last night. He was
yeah,
kind of
Zach.
the diamond in the rough for Miami there.
For sure, Zach. Yeah, we were just I was having a conversation at school with how good a chain like he was kind of their one bright spot for the Dolphins in that performance because I mean starting with that, Zach, like I mean I thought that Buffalo's defense was just I mean they really did a good job of limiting the big play in terms for and really forcing Tua into to bad spots here. And but I mean, yeah, I like you said, Zach. A Chain's kind of been a diamond in the rough because I got to be honest, I did not know who he was before he started carrying the ball for Miami, and he reminded me a lot of Jalen Warren when he
Hmm.
burst on the scene for us. Like he just kind of there's I think their running styles are kind of similar, and they kind of were under hyped in terms of the draft season and all that. But I mean, credit to Miami for finding it. And I think I mean, I do think Mike McDaniel is a really interesting coach to watch. Because I
Yeah,
think he's really of that Sean McVay kind of esque coaching style of like just super explosive play calls. It just gets harder, Zach, like you said, with Tua being out and Skylar Thompson being the backup because he's shown that he has at times struggled a bit. So it just these early season injuries are killer. But A-Chain was their one kind of bright spot for the Dolphins here.
Yeah, and talking about early season injuries, Danny, we have our punter went down to the season-ending injury, as we mentioned in a previous episode. He's out for the year with I forget what he did, something with his knee. So that we have Jordan Love going down on that horrible playing surface in Brazil. So I think injuries could play a key part in this year in the NFL. Danny, I want to think of one more thing to talk about. We're a little short on the time here. Anything going on in hockey world that you know of?
Dude, I mean, I just saw Jeff Carter was running OT the OTA version of hockey camp for the Penguin, which is awesome. I just love big Jeff Carter running that. I saw that, and then I mean, oh, we got Crosby back at it again, man, and I something I'm really excited for the kid we got from Michigan, that defenseman, Rutger McCordy.
Yeah.
I'm super excited to see what he can do for us. And yeah, man. I mean, if we can just figure this power play out, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I think that's really where it starts and ends for the Pens here, Zach. But yeah, I mean that's get ready to get rolling here. So I'm excited
Yeah.
to get dialed in for the Penguins
Yeah, October the 9th is going to be the
against the
start
Rangers, I think.
start against the Rangers. Yeah, that's I don't know if that's at MSG or if that's here at home, but we'll certainly have more in-depth NHL coverage as the season gets going. But for now, I think that is going to be it. This is kind of an impromptu program, so we kind of didn't really have much scripted. We'll have more for you when we do our next show, probably on Monday or Tuesday. Recapping both the Brawl on Saturday, which I hope I can watch the full game of that, and the week number 2 of the NFL season. Danny, any final thoughts before we wrap things up here?
No, Zach. I just have 3 words to end it with.
Okay.
Hail to Pitt.
Yes, sir. Okay, yeah, like I said, that's going to be it for today, Danny. I hope you enjoy the Backyard Brawl and the slate of NFL games on this tremendous second week of the NFL regular season. And
Thank you very much, Zach. Same to you, buddy.
with that, that is it. Thank you for watching and listening. We will see you all next time right here on the 38th edition of the Local Lowdown podcast.